I want to talk about Akaash Singh and his write-up in the New York Times.
Oh, okay.
We out here. We out here. You can wait, Brittany. Bitch, both of y'all.
Now,
both of y'all got time.
Akaash, one, how does it feel?
Yo, it was really cool.
Can we tell the story? Can we tell the real story?
Yeah.
Okay, bust it down.
Okay, so
they tried to get Akaash, son.
Yo, bust it down. Yo, shut up.
We told the real story. They tried to get Akaash. You can't get this man. You can't get this man. Try, New York Times.
All right.
Tell the motherfucking story. I'm sorry, I got so charged up. I'm so charged up.
I was asked to do...
I read the whole shit angry.
All right, so I got asked if I want to do an article in the New York Times. Somebody wanted to do a write-up on me. I'm not sure if it's a Rogan thing or what. You got to be a little bit nervous. And I go in, I'm talking to this guy. To his credit, he was arguing with me about shit. I had never done an interview like that.
Okay.
Every interview I've done, not many, but they ask you a question, you give an answer, and they move on to the next question. Mm-hmm. This guy and I talk for like 2 hours, and he's pushing back on shit. He keeps bringing up Hurry, and I'm like, I didn't make this special about Hurry. It has nothing to do with Hurry. I don't want to talk about Hurry. And he's like, well, you can't not talk about this special without talking about Hurry.
Can you just let people know who Hari Kondabolu is?
Hari Kondabolu, for those of you guys who don't know, he's the guy that made the special that got a poo taken off the air, essentially.
The problem with a poo.
Yes. And my reaction was not to him, it was to this whole thing. Like, we're going to take a poo off the air? Really? That's what we're reaching for as brown people?
Which he plays a part in.
Yeah. So I did, but at the time, I'm also very wary of like being painted as like this right-wing, like we joke here, right-wing Singh, but everybody listening knows me. They have context. I have to be very guarded about people trying to make me some kind of like right-wing, like brown Candace Owens type thing. I don't want that shit at all.
Yep.
So we're kind of going back and forth, and then we start arguing about something, and then he says something like, well, there's two camps of comedy, right? There's the woke camp and then your camp, the anti-woke camp. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not that. I'm not woke at all, but like, I'm not in some anti-woke camp where all I do is shit on. That's not my, I don't care about it that much.
Yeah.
And then
you're Akaash Singh.
I'm Akaash Singh.
You're your own camp.
Yeah,
your own
I'm my
comic,
own camp.
your own
I have my own
person.
thoughts. I'm not beholden to any.
That's why we go on stage alone. So we can say the things we want to say.
So then he and I legit start arguing in this fucking tea house. We just start like arguing at some point because I say to him, no, I resent what you're saying right now because you're too smart to do this. You're too smart to paint me as one of these guys. And I know people want to paint me as one of these guys, but I'm not that. Like, I'm not doing, like Glenn Beck asked me to do an interview. I'm not going to do Glenn Beck. And he looked surprised for a second. He was like, you wouldn't do Glenn Beck? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to do Glenn. Look, I'll do it if I do Rachel Maddow, and I'm doing both, but I'm not going to lean into one side just to make money, either side. I'm not that guy. And I think he had an idea of me being completely polar opposite of Hari Kondabolu. I think in his mind, was just like, well, this guy seems to completely disagree with him, so he must be this other guy. I don't begrudge him for it. I just think we had a misunderstanding. And I also think his interview style, to be fair to him, I don't want to shit on him. I think he just picks at what you're saying to get context. But I had never done an interview like that, so I'm like, this motherfucker out here trying to get me, yo.
Yeah, he is trying.
I was, that's him right there.
Yeah.
But I was he said something like, you had Alex Jones on your podcast, and I go, I don't think we need to talk about that here, because again, I don't want him to take the thing there. Yeah. And then he goes, well, I can't talk about you without mentioning that you had Alex Jones on your podcast. And I go, I think you can. So like, I'm pretty.
It's almost like he had a preconceived notion of who you were. And every time you were creating pushback for that notion, he was trying to find another way to justify it. That's why I was upset.
And I could have been, I called him afterward. We talked afterward, and he cleared the air. He was like, look, my style is I'm going to push back to get context on who you are. And I realized what I was thinking is this motherfucker is exactly that. I want to give him credit. I think he would do this with anybody. Like, if you're a left-wing guy, he's going to give you a right-wing point of view just to see what you dig deeper onto what you really think. And then by the end of it, he talked to me about like, so you seem like a pretty moderate guy. Is it tough to do comedy that way, etc.? And that didn't necessarily make it in the piece, but I respected that he asked me.
He said you were moderate, left-leaning.
Yeah.
In the piece.
And
he said you said you were that.
That's true. Yeah. And I do like that he said I heatedly balked at the notion of being an anti-woke comic. Like, put that shit in. I do not fucking want that.
I thought the piece was good.
Yeah.
And I thought the piece exposed that you had an answer for every potential criticism of you.
Yeah.
So I'll give him credit in that regard, is that like he was feeding you lines that some people might have been deflated if they had to respond to, like that could have, kind of hung a lot of people out to dry, but you've thought about this so much more than the average person. So there's no way that they're going to put you in this position where you're going to be this radioactive, polarizing figure about these things.
And to be fair to anybody who interviews me, you should, if I haven't thought it through like that, I shouldn't put out the special. I shouldn't put out a special call, bring back Apu, if I haven't thought this through at every level and thought, nah, I'm comfortable, I stand on this. So I don't, I was heated when I left that interview. I was like, I don't know what the fuck. I called Andrew. I was like, bro, I think this motherfucker tried to get me, whatever.
Yeah.
I emailed him. Then he was like, yo, I'm sorry you feel that way. I genuinely don't. Give me a call if you want to clear up the air. And I called him. And then we did find a place where he's like, look, if you don't like the article, that's fine. That is your right. And I understand it's nerve-wracking to be written about because you don't have control of it, but just, can you do me one favor and just read the article first? And I was like, yeah, you got me. I think you got me on that.
Like, read it before it comes out?
No, just read it before you rush to judgment and tell me I slandered you or whatever. Like, don't do it. No. Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, I mean, look, I can feel the way, but I have nothing to really go on. Yeah,
can you read it first?
Yeah, but the good,
all right, you were right.
The good thing is we have this platform.
Right.
If he did slander me, to be like, yo, this motherfucker slandered me, he full of shit, whatever.
We can fight back against it. My only issue is the fact that it kind of seemed like he went into this this interview with a preconceived notion of who you were. And it seemed like he was trying to justify that preconceived notion.
And I honestly...
Now, I'm only getting this from what you shared with me.
Yeah, if that's how he felt, I'm glad he felt that way because he's smart enough that we can have an argument and I can give him all the counters and then he can put that in his piece. Because he did his job as a reporter, which is put out an honest piece. Yeah. So as much as I want to be emotional about it, I'm glad that guy who's a reporter who's going to be honest in his actual piece felt that way. Because then let's have this argument and then you write your piece honest.
Yeah. And it feels naturally to have a preconceived notion, right? Like any person has that. You watch someone's content and you're like, oh, I wonder if this is what this person's like. Then you meet him and then you ask questions.
I think if you actually watch someone's content, you wouldn't have a preconceived notion that was that wrong. That's my feeling. I think that like if you were a fan of someone's work, that you would have a more like nuanced view and holistic view of who Akaash was. Yeah.
That's the one thing I pushed back on is he told me you heard my Rogan. I'm like, yo, you heard my Rogan.
Then you didn't. You would know.
I said these things. And then he brought that up. He was like, yo, you brought this thing up in Rogan where you said the woke movement is overall leading to a good place. It comes from a good place or something like that. Like, so it was a fucking... It's an intense thing when you're sitting with somebody for 2 hours and just disagreeing, and then you walk away thinking this motherfucker's gonna write something about me. And we had intense disagreements in that 2 hours. It wasn't all disagreement, but like there were moments where I'm like, bro, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this guy thinks.
If he just wants to zone in on that part,
he just wants to zone on that part. Now, again, to Andrew's point, I've thought this all through. So you can come at me with this, and if you actually want to talk, you're not going to find a lot of holes in my logic. I'm not completely right at all, but like I've thought it through. So I thought he did his job, but I walked out of there being very uncomfortable with just like, I don't know what happened, dude. This is the fucking New York Times. I do know they lean left, and I probably am a slightly left-leaning guy, but like I don't want to be painted in any fucking light that I'm not. That's not authentic. So I walked out of there like, I don't know what just happened, but then it came, when I read the article, I was like, yo, this is cool. And
I like that it was more about you than about the special.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this the other day, and Giannis actually had a really funny clip where he agreed with everything you said about like, there's no point in having like comedy reviewers. Like the audience reviews. Yeah. We don't need a reviewer.
Right.
Like we just need the audience, and if the audience is laughing, then those people find it funny.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that the article is more about like you and your opinions about this topic.
Right.
So writing about a comic and like what they mean and what their messaging is and what the point of a special like that is, great.
Yeah.
But like judging whether a comic is funny or not is like, we don't need.
Yeah.
Were they laughing?
Yeah. And he didn't do that, and he diametrically opposed me to Hari Kondabalu more than I would have wanted necessarily. Because again, and I'm glad he included in the end that I think he's a funny guy and he's a good joke writer and he's hardworking. Like I don't want to sit here and make it a fucking beef. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not.
And we'll have Hari on the pod.
I would,
Hari, if you ever want to come on the pod and discuss Apu or other things with Akaash and us, we are more than welcome to having you here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Open discussion. Honest
you feel
discussion.
a little bit better though. You feel. A little bit more
when I read it, I was like, "Yo, this piece is good." My parents read it; they were proud. Like that's another thing. To them, this is the biggest. This is bigger than a self-produced special on YouTube. To them, for sure.
Yeah.
Even if 1 million people saw it, they're like, "Yo, this is the New York Times. This shit means something." I send this to India to our family, and they're like, "Holy fuck."
Yeah, to that point, to older folks, like that's people were driven to theaters and to movies and specials from like the New York Times like calendar and arts and entertainment section. It's different now, obviously, and Andrew's speaking from the point of like you can drive it yourself.
And older immigrant cultures they need validation from the outside because that's how the world functions for them.
This is everybody. It's like the stamp of approval, especially for older generations, comes from like when institutions co-sign you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, older people probably saw the Netflix special that we did and they were like, oh my God, this guy has made it.
Yeah.
Not realizing that like there are far more like lucrative endeavors that we've done that just didn't have that name. The same thing with New York Times.
Lucrative and profile driving.
Yes, of course. But there is something nice about getting access to something that, not that many people have access to.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a gatekeeper to be in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And then you were chosen.
100%.
And you created a piece that, regardless if that person wanted to write a critical piece or a fluff piece, I mean, you made sure that it was the piece that was based on like how you felt. Yeah. So that was up to you. But like, regardless of what that dude's sentiment was going into it, you created a piece that should have been written about. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, again, I'm proud of it.
And keep in mind, you created it and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like that is power to the creator.
Right.
You put a piece out on an open platform and it was so provocative and successful that the New York Times is reviewing a YouTube piece.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the changing of the guard right there.
Yeah, testament to you. That's this guy that created the model.
Can I ask a question for you guys? What's the thing?
Real
with the
quick,
parents?
I was slandered a little bit. They said I'm 38. I'm not 38 for 2 more months. So New York Times, I expect a retraction.
See, guy didn't do his research.
Apology.
Doesn't even know who you are.
A printed apology. I might have told him I'm 38 because I had to be rounding up. But point is, you know what I mean? Do some Googling, you know?